Everything you desire is waiting for you to claim it. There's no creating involved, only invention through imagination and building through action. You are at the center of all your desires, dreams, and achievements. Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast that's all about your success, achieving your goals, building wealth through your business, and building your most passionate, powerful, magnificent life. Discover ways to use your purpose to connect you to serving others and living your dreams. I am Pat Council, and I know you are built by design to win. And it all begins with knowing how to tap into your success energy. Let's get on the path of discovery, decisive action, development, and unwavering dedication to your life's calling. It's time to embark on a transformative journey where your deepest passions become your most rewarding achievements. Embrace your power to shape your destiny, because this is your moment to do life with power. Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and on Designing Your Life Today, we are going to talk about how much are you really worth? I have talked to so many people throughout, not just since the beginning of this year, but last year and the year before. And I often run into the conversation, or we evolve into a conversation where they are struggling for a sense of self-worth. They're struggling to figure out how much they're worth. They don't believe that they're worth much. They don't believe that they're capable. So what made me decide to talk about this today? Because this is still a part of our 2026 where we are getting in the mix. This is how you get in the mix when it comes to building the life that you desire, building your magnificent life. And so we are now in the month of March, there it is. And I am excited about that and excited about how the year is going for me. Now, I hope you're excited about the direction in which the year is going for you. If not, if you say, you know what, you won't believe the problems and challenges that I'm having. Hey, listen, don't put yourself down when it comes to that, because a lot of times problems and challenges and these things, they're trying to teach you something. They're showing you that the direction that you're headed in is not the direction that perhaps you're supposed to go in. It's showing you that the direction that you desire to go in. And even if you say, well, I'm working in my calling, I am trying, my least favorite word, to make it work. Even if you say that, or think that, and you say, but it's just not working. Well, that does not mean it's a bad thing. It's showing you that you either don't know enough, that perhaps you're not doing enough, or you're not being honest with your work ethic or what you're doing, or that you're simply not being honest with who you are. And finally, that you are not embracing your true worth. A lot of times we use different things and categories to determine how much we are worth. We allow other people to cause us to decide how valuable we really are. For example, sometimes people work long hours and sacrifice their family so that they can get the promotion, so they can gain the approval of other people, so that they can get accolades and other people can tell them how great they are. We do it because we want to make more money sometimes for those that work a job. Now, on Designing Your Life Today, we often encourage you to get a business, even if you have to do a side business, or as they call it, a side hustle, which I don't particularly believe in doing the side business. But you know what? You've got to start someplace. So get started and get yourself a side business, and then allow it to evolve into your main business. So why would you do that? Because I'm hoping that when you choose this side business or side hustle, that this is something that is connected to your gifts and talents, something that you're really excited about. Because if you're not excited about your job and you're doing another business or a side business that you're not excited about for the sake of money, yeah, at the end of the day, there is no excitement. And it doesn't make you feel very valuable. So we do things to gain approval in different ways. We get into debt by buying fancy clothes and being the best dressed person. We want to have fancy cars. We want to have fancy houses or the big house, flashy house. And let me say this, there is nothing wrong with these things. You can have the nicest clothes that your money can buy. You can have the nicest car, or cars, plural, that your money can buy. You can have as many houses as you want or the flashiest house that your money can buy. It is the reason behind why you're doing it that attacks your worth and what you think you're worth. In other words, you don't want to do it just so that you can please other people. On that note, here's a little side note. I often tell people that, listen, I don't drive a brand new car. I drive a nice car. Okay. It's a Toyota Sequoia, and it's nice. It's clean. It runs, and it's just nice. It's smooth. And so the point that I'm getting to is I've been through that phase in my life where I have had the fancy cars. As a matter of fact, I bought two Lexus cars, one silver and the other one was gold. And so I wanted to have them both. Okay. So the point that I'm making is I learned that it's not about being flashy. I spent tons of money on clothes, nice clothes. Of course, I was in real estate, but I didn't have to spend as much as I did on clothes, matching shoes to match the suits. And if you guys have been following Designing Your Life Today for a long time, you have heard me talk about this before. Now, as I said, there's nothing wrong with having these things. I like nice things, and I believe I'm always going to like nice things. I don't believe in settling, and I don't believe in bargain basement. I don't believe in doing those kinds of things. However, teach his own. The point that I'm making is whether you buy things that are inexpensive or things that might cost a little bit more, because, yeah, they're more valuable in terms of how long they last and these kinds of things. But whatever you choose to do, do it because you choose to do it, because you're embracing you. You're embracing who you are. So we're going to talk about how you determine your value, or some of the ways that you determine your value. So if you don't know how much you're worth, I think you're going to get some insight into determining how much you're worth on today's podcast. So with that being said, there are things we even do where we want to please people. We want to say, yes, you know what? I have a high position in the church, and I am the pastor's right hand person, or whatever the case may be. And we do that because we want people to look up to us, and we want them to think, oh, wow, you are so amazing. You're so much better than I am. And so here's the thing. The object of the game is it doesn't matter what position you have in life. If you're a CEO of a major corporation, if you are the CEO of your small business that you built from scratch, and you are just, making things happen, and it is so awesome. All of that is great. But at the end of the day, the question becomes, why are you doing it? Who are you doing it for? And how is it making you feel? It is important that we really take the time to embrace who we are and have this really great relationship with ourselves. Now, I've been there, done that. And the thing about going through those kinds of things where you have to remind yourself of who you are and really embrace you and not worry about what everyone else is saying, then that takes work. You guys, it took work for me. And so I'm saying I've been there, done that. And at some point, it's so beautiful when you wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm pretty awesome. God has given me some amazing gifts, and I'm using them, and I feel good about myself, and I feel good about my life, and I feel good about what I am bringing to society, these kinds of things. So as I said, I'm going to share with you how to determine your value. And it's pretty simple, you guys. And all you have to do is answer the questions or fill in the blanks. Now, I want to say this. If you're listening to this and you're going, yeah, I do have the nice car and the fancy house and the fancy clothes. I do have those things. I want to say this to you. Another way for you to know whether you're doing it for you because this is who you are or not is if you're full of fear. Sometimes we do things because we want to please everyone else and we want people to look at us a certain way and think about us in a certain way with positivity, or we want them to admire us. And as a result, all of the things that you're doing, it's causing you to be afraid because you're afraid if you're going to lose them. You're afraid what happens, what will people think of me? And so I want you to tell you, been there, done that. And I've talked about the real estate market when it crashed, and I could have stayed in real estate, but I made a different decision. I'm so glad I made the decision that I made. And what is that decision? That decision is what I'm doing now. I started Power Up Nation because I looked around and not just, I looked at myself, but I also looked around at other people and some of the people that I encountered and some of the things, yes, that I saw where people were talking live on the internet or posting things. And I thought, wow, there's so much fear. There is so little critical thinking, because when you're doing things to get approval from other people, your critical thinking goes out the window. All you're thinking about is, do they like me? I need to make them like me, which also points to a little confidence / self-esteem issue, which means that you probably want to get a tune-up in those areas. So the thing about that is, it is important for you to know how much you're worth. It is important for you to take the time to determine your value. Listen, you are very valuable, but if you don't take the time to recognize it, then it's not going to take you anywhere. You're going to live this unfulfilled life because you're worried about what the rest of the class is thinking about you. Now, I've also shared that I was raised by my grandparents. I grew up without my parents. My mom left my brothers and I when I was 5, and my older brother was 6, and my younger brother was like 18 months or something. So the point, I was not quite 2 years old. And so the point that I'm making is, so there are 2 boys and 1 girl. And so when this kind of thing happens, the 1 girl is thinking, wait a minute, why not take me? Maybe she did not like me. So it's easy to think that you're not valuable, or it was easy for me to think that, well, I don't really bring anything to the table. Well, maybe I wasn't valuable enough and she didn't love me enough. These kinds of things. But here's the thing. I want you guys to recognize that if any of this ever crosses your path, and I got to throw my little caveat in before I continue. Here's the caveat. Whether you grew up with your parents or not, I find that it's across the board these days. Sometimes people have challenges because they have 2 parents that constantly express disapproval. So as a result, they don't feel like they're valuable either. And then there's the parents where the parents split, and one parent takes the child or children and talks really badly about the spouse, be it the father or the mother. And they say really bad things, and the kids get to hear that. Kids know that they came from these 2 parents. So on one hand, they're thinking, well, I must be bad too. So think about these things when it comes to you and how you value your life and what you think about yourself. As I said, you're very valuable. But if you don't take the time to recognize it and embrace it, then that's a whole nother story. You see, I was blessed in that when I went to grade school, I had teachers who, because I would not stop talking, instead of sending me to the principal's office, they channeled my gift of talking towards something more productive. Okay, meaning, I would recite poems and things like that, and I participated in a pageant in my grade school, and so and got a standing ovation because everybody thought it was amazing what I shared, or the poem that I did, the dramatic. I was going to say dramatic reading, but I actually recited it from memory. So I started to realize that, wait a minute, I'm worth something here. So here's the point that I'm making with that. Take the time to recognize your gifts, and then you'll start to understand that, wait a minute, my value is not determined by other human beings. My value is not determined by my parents. It's not about whether you love them or not. I loved my parents. Okay. And so it's not about that. It is about you recognizing that, wait a minute, my value comes from God. He says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. He said he knew the numbers of hair on my head. He knows the numbers of hair that I have on my head. He said he knew me when I was in the womb, before I was even born. So he put these gifts in me, and he's done the exact same thing for you. So how do you determine your value? First of all, and I've been talking about this, I think, a lot lately, because our theme for this year is in 2026, get in the mix. And that means you're going to spend some time with you. You're going to pay attention to your life. You're going to participate in your own life instead of looking to the outside world, finding someone else to blame and thinking that you can't win. You can win. You see, so you have to embrace the fact that, wait a minute, God put me here to serve a purpose. God put me here for a reason. Doesn't matter how I got here, I'm here. Okay. And I'm going to stay here until it's time for me to take the nearest exit. Okay. Y'all know what that means, right? Till it's time for me to die. So I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to do my best to serve my purpose. All right, I can stand to do better. There's a confession on my part. How about you? I mean, could you stand to do better? How many of you really don't know what your purpose is? And if that's the case, we have some things for you already, but also we have more that's coming up that will help you with all of this. I want to encourage you not to give up on who you are, not to make excuses, but most importantly, how do you give up on who you are if you don't really know who you are? We turn our lives over to the news. We turn our lives over to the politicians, and we allow them to define us. And that's ridiculous, you guys. So let's get to it. So how do you determine your value? Here are 4 things you want to pay attention to. First of all, you determine your value by how you treat yourself. Now, if you treat yourself like you're less than, like you're not worth it, then you don't particularly value you. Does it mean you're not valuable? No, it means you have not recognized how valuable you are, or you have, but you have put a lid on it. You're subduing it. You've not chosen to embrace it because you're worried about what other people will think about you. So take a look at how you would like to be treated. And that leads me to the second one. And these two, they're kind of together, so to speak. The second point is how you allow others to treat you. Again, think about how you would like to be treated. How would you like people to view you? And you say, wait a minute, I thought you just said, I don't need the approval of other people. You don't. But the things that we do so that we can be perceived as valuable, we're doing it so that people can approve of us. But you need to look at those things. Why are you doing them? And of those things, which ones do you really desire to do? It is important that you pay attention to your life and how you feel about you. And here's a great way for you to tell how you feel about where you are and what's really going on with your life. A couple of ways. Number one, sometimes people look at a friend and that friend is excelling. They're doing a great job, or they're going for their purpose. They seem to be moving forward without fear. It doesn't mean they don't have some fear. It just means that they are being obedient to their calling. But you're looking at that and jealousy pops up. So when jealousy pops up, that tells you that you think they're better than you. And that means you're not treating yourself as the ultimate prize in this life. Now, are you the ultimate prize to all of us? No, I don't think so. Okay, but you must be the ultimate prize to yourself. You must embrace it. So why be the ultimate prize to yourself? Because God has put some gifts in you, some talents. You have a calling on your life. If you don't treat yourself like you're the ultimate prize, it becomes very difficult to not only recognize how amazing you are and how valuable you are and what you're worth, it becomes difficult for you to follow through on that worth. And as a result, you start to feel worth less. No one is worth less. So on this wonderful Wednesday, this is all about you. We talk about having a better relationship with yourself. These are things that I had to learn that I wish someone had taught me. But I'm still grateful for my life. I'm still grateful for the fact that I've learned it, because the beautiful part is, I learned it the hard way, and I promise you, I will never forget it. And I embrace me fully. I don't make excuses for my life. All right, maybe sometimes, like if I don't eat the right things. All right, no, I don't make excuses. I acknowledge that. Speaking of which, I'm still on my fitness journey, and it is going great. Stay tuned for that. But let's get back on track. And how you allow others to treat you. This helps you determine how much you think you're worth. This also helps you determine your value by showing you what you're turning down. Because when people treat us poorly, all of a sudden there's something in us that says, you know what, I'm worth so much more. There's something in us that says, I don't deserve this. I deserve better. Okay. And I've been through that. Okay. And sometimes in a certain relationship. And I remember saying, I deserve better than this. And the thing about it is then, I'm what you call pragmatic. I'm a practical person. And I kind of analyze myself sometimes. And I remember saying that more than once. And finally, I asked myself, if you deserve better than this, why are you not going for better than this? Why are you settling? So this is how you start to determine your value. Listen to yourself. Pay attention to your emotions. Especially, unfortunately, the negative emotions, because they're sending you a message that, wait a minute, this is not your life. And so number one is how you treat yourself. Number two is how you allow others to treat you. And number three is the extent to which you honor and use your purpose. See, you're very valuable, as I said. And so if you want to know how to determine your value, take a look at what your purpose is. Think about your purpose, and let's put it into dollars and cents. So let's think about, how much are people who are doing exactly what you would love to do, how much are they getting paid? Now, everything when it comes to being valuable is not just about money, but I can assure you money is one of the indicators that determines a certain kind of personal value that you carry. So for people who say, oh, I just love doing this and I just love helping people, I don't want anything for it, then you're placing no value on the gifts that you have. It is so important that you put value to what you're doing. Now, does that mean you can't volunteer sometimes? No, it doesn't mean that. I love to volunteer, and there are things that I do, and I don't get paid for those things. But do I lose out? Absolutely not. So my reward comes in the fact that, you know what? I'm sharing my gifts to people who really can't quite afford what I have to offer. I am sharing those gifts, but that's my form of giving. Okay, so this is how I give back, but I decide who I want to give to and how I want to give. Okay, so I do it as I'm led to do. We'll talk about that perhaps in another podcast. But the point that I'm making is I honor my gifts and my talents. Now, do I honor them all? I would say yes. And part of honoring your gifts and talents means you either have used them a great deal or you are using them a great deal. So I still use my gifts and talents. Okay, except I don't sing as much as I used to. But there was a time when I did it every day, more than 8 hours a day. Okay, so the thing about that is to the extent to which you honor and use your gifts and talents or your purpose. Are you serving your purpose? Or are you making excuses for not serving your purpose? So think about that, you guys. All right, so here's number 4. Number 4 is the extent to which you open yourself to receive what you deserve and desire as a result of using your purpose, stepping into your calling. Your calling, your purpose, it is designed to, let's say, sustain you. Okay, in other words, to allow you to build your magnificent life, to allow you to see more. And that's where that seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And all these things will be added unto you. And of course, his righteousness means the right way of doing things. But how can you do something the right way if you don't know what you're doing? Or if you don't know why you're doing it? Or if you're just doing it for the sake of approval. Now, listen, if you're doing things for the sake of approval, then you're not doing it based on his righteousness. You're not doing it based on what you're called to do. You're not doing it based on any kind of obedience. Obedience is a form of righteousness. It is a form of right thinking and going in the right direction. So when you think about your value using these four things, answer the question, how do you treat yourself? I mean, do you step up to go for what you deserve and what you desire? Or do you sit around and expect the government to give it to you? Or you argue over what's going on with the government and you find reasons to blame everyone else except the person you see in the mirror when you get up in the morning, which, by the way, don't waste time blaming yourself either. That's a low energy thing. You want to acknowledge who you are, acknowledge your power, and step into that. God has given us awesome, amazing power. The scripture, now unto him who's able to do exceeding and abundantly above all we could ask or think, according to the power that worketh in me. And it says that worketh in us. However, I like to make it a little more personal and just say worketh in me. But I can say worketh in us and still get the full effect. So the point that I'm making is when it comes to thinking about how you treat yourself, don't spend time blaming others. Don't even spend time blaming yourself. Step into that power. Embrace you guys. You know why we don't embrace ourselves? And I'm going to end shortly here because I don't want to make this be too long. You know why we don't do that? Because we're so worried about what other people think, and because we're afraid. Fear is like at the root of all of this. Okay, there's this fear side of us, and something gets in our head and starts to tell us everything that we are not, or starts to tell us, what if people don't like you? What if you make a mistake? What if they don't like what you're saying? These kinds of things. I've said a lot of things that people don't like what I say. I've done presentations where someone thinks it's okay to show how smart they are and they don't even know what they're talking about. And they want to take a few shots at me. You know, I deal with it. I don't do combat. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my energy. See, when you know who you are, you know how valuable you are. For example, the person who thinks that it's okay to do that in the room when I'm doing a presentation, it's rare, but when it does happen, I pretty much tune them out. Okay, unless they become like obnoxious, and then I calm it down. But for the most part, I tune them out and I move on. And I'll make a little comment that says, let's move on and learn something from someone who's been there and done that. They get the picture. They don't know what they're talking about. I do. So do you see that? That's not arrogance. That is me embracing my value. So with that being said, take these four things: how you treat yourself, how you allow others to treat you. Answer those questions, put it in writing so you can see it and be fully aware of what you're thinking about how you feel about you. And 3 and 4, answer this to what extent do you honor your purpose? And then here's the fourth one. To what extent do you open yourself up to receive what you desire and deserve? Now, this includes what you're doing for a living, whether you have a job or doing a business. This also includes how you do things or how you treat yourself when you're in a relationship. Now, guys, I don't mean any offense here, but I'm keeping it real. Sometimes, women, when we're young girls, we're taught to kind of be a people pleaser in the sense that you have to do things to make sure that that man is happy. They forgot to tell us that it works both ways. Okay. It's not about making anyone happy, because no one can really make you happy. You're responsible for that yourselves, both male and female. But in other words, we're taught to cater. Okay. And to put what we desire. And if you have children, to put what you want on the back burner. Okay. Now, you never, ever have to do that to the extent that you sacrifice your entire life. And there have been some women who've done that. And then when they're older and their kids are gone and the kid wants to live their life and be married and be happy, the first thing out of the mom's mouth is, I sacrificed my life for you. Well, they didn't ask you to do it. So I'm saying all of that to say it's not set up for that way. Okay, you can love your kid, you can love yourself, but you have to take care of you first. Why do you take care of you first? Because if you don't love you, you can't love the kid, and you can't teach your children how to grow up in love. Okay, and the man in your life won't respect you because he knows you don't love yourself. So think about these kinds of things. Answer these questions. This is what it means about getting in the mix in 2026. You'll make better choices in life. As I said, been there, done that with all of these. So it's so cool that I can talk about these things. And hopefully some of you will hear this. And please share this with someone else, this episode. You can download it and pass it on, because it is so important that we start placing a value on our lives. Okay, we place that value. You are worth so much. Here's the final thing. When we have a problem embracing our worth, it's because we haven't constructively paid attention to who we truly are or who God made us to be. Now, we read it, perhaps for those of you that read the Bible, or you hear a preacher say that, but do we really believe it? Not really. Or we just think, oh, it makes me feel good for the moment, but we don't internalize that. Listen, you want to really take the time to put some attention on who you are or who God made you to be. The other thing that happens is you find it difficult to accept your own magnificence. Okay, when you have a problem embracing that you are valuable, that you are worth more. You find it difficult to accept your own magnificence because you keep seeking approval from everyone else. And you seek approval from everyone else except yourself and God. Okay, obedience to God that's approval. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And with that comes a certain amount of happiness. Disobedience comes misery. Again, been there, done that. Doesn't excite me at all. Okay, today or since I realized what I was doing. All right, so this happens. Why does this happen? And we're going to wrap up on this. This happens when we're not clear on our own identity. See, when you don't know who you are, other people can come in and tell you who you are. Just like parents can come in and tell a kid, you're stupid. Now, no one ever did that to me. I had a great life growing up. But if someone had said that, I imagine I would grow up thinking I was stupid until I learned something different. Doesn't matter what you were taught when you were a kid. You need to spend some time with you. Okay. I promise you, God did not leave us at the mercy of our parents. Trust me, because if he did, my life would be very different. So with that being said, this happens when you're not clear on your own identity. Okay, everything plays a role and everyone plays a role in your life. You have to decide what that role is. You have to know what that role is. You have to know where it fits. So with that being said, I still have my identity powered goal setting course that's available. And I said I was going to raise the price, but my birthday was in the month of February, and so I let it ride. Now I am about to raise the price next week. So I'm still going to make it affordable though, because I think it's really important that people understand their identity and they start to really spend some time, getting in the mix in 2026, getting in the mix with who they are. Listen, throughout this month, this is the month of March, and everybody talks about spring cleaning. Well, we're not going to be any different. So we're going to focus on spring cleaning for success clarity so that you can get on that track, stay on that track, and really start to do life with power. Really embrace the idea that you are built by design to win, because you're going to understand more about who you are, and you're going to really grab onto your identity, and you're going to just fall in love all over again. If you're not in love with yourself, you're going to fall in love with yourself. That's not a narcissistic thing to say. That is a good thing to say. And one last thing I want to say, because I said you're going to fall in love with yourself. I want to say this for those of you who are so super religious. A lot of times we have been taught, and I heard this when I was growing up, that, as human beings, that we're nothing, okay? And we're like worms, and we're just sinners saved by grace. You know what? Go and read the Bible. I read it myself, okay? And it doesn't quite say that. And it starts to tell me, it told me who I really am. And so I want you to embrace you. Okay. Instead of listening to traditional religion, instead of listening to someone who perhaps learned something from someone else and they are preaching based on tradition and not based on what's written. And this is not a criticism of them. This is just a fact. You guys, I'm not holding back this year. Okay. First of all, find someone that's going to preach the truth. Secondly, I want you to learn the truth yourself. The Bible tells you, study to show thyself approved. It also says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. They're not talking about college or high school. They're not talking about just book knowledge. Okay, God is talking about spiritual knowledge. Get that knowledge, and then you are really going to understand who you are. And you're going to understand why I'm always saying do life with power, because you are built by design to win.